great, actually, my honor and pleasure to introduce Kirby Jefferson, who's Vice President here at Intel, and he's going to tell you a little bit about Intel and Intel New Mexico. So let me turn it over to Kirby.
Well, good morning and welcome. Good morning and welcome to Intel. It's great seeing some faces that I recognize, so it's great seeing you. Tell you a little bit about Intel. This is a big year for Intel. This is 50 years of Moore's Law. And if you don't know what Moore's Law is, 50 years ago, Gordon Moore is the founder of our company. He, on the back of a piece of paper, he basically projected that the density of transistors would about double about every 18 months to 2 years. And if you translate that into what has really happened, remember transistor radios? There was 4 transistors in the very first transistor radio. Today in a CPU, in a central processing unit chip that we manufacture, we put over 1 billion transistors on one little slice of silicon about the size of your thumbnail. So that's what happens when you double transistors every 18 months to 2 years. And many people say, how long will Moore's Law last? And the technology obviously gets more and more complex. But people have been asking that question since I started at Intel in 1980. And everybody's been projecting it's probably good for another 5 or 6 years. And they've been projecting that since 1980, so who knows how much longer it's going to last. This is also a big year for New Mexico Intel because this is our 35th anniversary here. We started in 1980, and it was just this building to the north of us. Not this one, but the one beyond that. That factory was Fab 7. The one next to us is Fab 9. Both of those are now shut down. And the reason that they're shut down is because they, like our transistors doubling every 2 years and being more complex, the buildings necessary to make them get more complex. And so we have Fab 11X here, which is one of Intel's largest manufacturing facilities. We've got, it's a quarter of a mile, the factory itself is a quarter of a mile long and about 300 yards, about 200 yards wide. So very, very big factory. And to give you a sense with regards to what it costs to build a semiconductor these days, the most advanced tool is a camera, and it works kind of like your phone camera does, except it costs $100 million. And a factory may require 10 or 12 of those. So when we build a factory, it costs about, for the newest generation technology, $5 to $8 billion to build a factory. So it's very, very capital intensive, very, very expensive equipment. But anyhow, we're here to talk about philanthropy, and I want to thank you all for the work that you all do. As many of you know, Intel's been very involved in philanthropy for many years. $41 million in contributions to our employees to United Way since about 1986, and we couldn't find the records before 86. But I was here, and I knew we contributed, so it's more than that. We do about $4 million a year in philanthropy, and with a lot of that, with our primary focus on education, and with a very large portion of that towards women and girl education, particularly in the STEM environment. So that's an area of focus that Intel has. So in any event, I know that you all will have a great meeting. I thank you again for the work that you do and welcome you to Intel. Thank you.
Adam, I'm supposed to introduce you. So this is Adam. He is the current board chair for the New Mexico Association of Grantmakers. He's a really good guy. I haven't gotten to know him quite as well as I want to.
Thanks, Ron. So thank you, Ron and Kirby. Thank you for Intel for hosting us here. And thank you, Kathy and Lois and the NMAG staff for pulling this together. Thank you all for coming out to our little party this afternoon. So NMAG is really about improving the effectiveness of philanthropy in our state. If someone wants to propose the Moore's Law of Philanthropy for New Mexico, where we see exponential impact every year, that would be cool to figure out how to do that. Maybe we could be a part of hosting the way to get there. But I just want to point out that our programming today is part of an arc that we're forming for this year, where we're looking at philanthropy in the state through a lens of community and equity. And this is a part of an exploration this year of what does that mean to different people and different funders. Equity can be defined differently. Why is it important to you can be thought of differently. But I think one of the ways to think about it is that we are looking not at just solving specific problems that we have in our communities, but how are we working towards creating conditions within our communities for them to thrive and be vital, and what is the role that we as funders, until we establish our Moore's Law, can use to bring our limited resources to help stimulate those conditions. I just want to remind everybody that we do have an open survey out because we do want to hear from you and your thoughts. We want to know what folks are thinking in the field, and we are going to bring it back together for our annual conference in October, which will be in Santa Fe. And we're going to build on this theme this year. We're going to build onto it into next year as a way of really helping us come together and grow individually and collectively to be more effective in the work that we do. And with that, I'm really excited that we have our panel and our presentations today thinking about the roles of technology and living systems as it relates to community and equity, as it relates to becoming more effective in philanthropy. I think as we begin to pull our lenses together and look at things from different angles, we begin to find the creativity and the opportunities for how we can best advance and make a difference in our communities and in our state. So thank you all again for coming, and I'm looking forward to today. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kathy, our director. Or back to Ron.
After I gave a couple logistical information, just to make sure everyone's safe when you're here on Intel, one of our values is safety. And so we do ask that you don't go past the gates there at the front. Later on, if you're interested in a tour, I know some of you have signed up for a tour, so we'll get you badges and we'll take you there. If you did not sign up, I can still just talk to me later, and we can still sign you up for a tour later on. Restrooms are basically right across the hall, right across the lobby, so use those right there. And then if we have any kind of alarms, we can go back out the doors we came in. If those are locked, we'll go out this way. But pretty much you can follow me. I am a runner, so do try to keep up. And then I will now turn it over to Kathy. I gave one.
All right, very good. Well, thank you for coming today. I'm Kathy Fry, the Executive Director for the New Mexico Association of Grantmakers. If I haven't had a chance to introduce myself to you, I hope I will sometime during the program today. But it's my pleasure to introduce our two morning speakers. I'm very excited about their participating in this event. Today's program explores how technology has great potential to create structures to scale social impact and build greater equity within our communities. And today we'll hear from the insights from two social innovators on their work in forging scalable and sustainable solutions for collective impact. These are all loaded words that I know we are all very interested in learning more about. Following the morning presentation, I will be introducing Michael Shepard, who's here from Big Sky Learning, and he's going to moderate the question and answer discussion and explain why you have crayons on your table. After our morning discussion, then we'll break for lunch about 11:50. We want you to enjoy this delicious farmers market lunch prepared by Chef Carl Holm of Bon Appetit of Rio Rancho. And then once we get done with our lunch, we're going to have a funder reactor panel that will respond to what they have observed today and also share a little bit about the work that they're doing. So now I'd like to introduce our morning speakers. We have, first of all, TJ Cook, and he is the CEO and Chief Strategist of Cause Labs. And in this role, he's responsible for guiding the strategy and vision of the company as it strives to help others rapidly innovate and solve the world's problems. During his tenure at Cause Labs, TJ has helped design a rapid approach to problem solving that has launched over 100 tangible solutions while assembling an expert team of strategists, designers, and engineers who partner with clients around the world with funding, with prototypes, launching digital innovation. So we're going to hear more from TJ about the work that he's doing globally. And then I'd also like to introduce Lisa Beta. She's the founder and CEO of App City Life, a civic tech corporation focused on connecting cities and people globally through smart tech, mobile, and open data. Lisa has been recognized for her contributions in technology in New Mexico as an honoree of the Women in Technology Award and was named the 2014 New Mexico Woman of Influence. I've had the opportunity to meet with and talk with both of them, and they're both absolutely dedicated to their work in improving the quality of life for people here in New Mexico and across the globe. So welcome. I'm going to turn it over to TJ first.
Thank you, Kathy, and hi, everybody. I want to share just a little funny thing that has nothing to do whatsoever with what we're talking about, but my 4-year-old said this morning after her stomach grumbled, my tummy's having a phone call because I can feel it beeping. That's from the anecdote. So that's what technology is doing. She thinks she has a phone in her stomach. I feel honored to be here, and at least I feel the same way with you all. You all are social innovators. We're all in the same boat, I think. And so even though I'm up here just sharing some specific examples, I feel like I'm sitting with you and look forward to that discussion. I wanted to share a couple themes of what I've learned in the past 8 years being at Cause Labs, and some specific examples therein, just to get some ideas and some really concrete thinking seated, so that when Michael expertly moderates our discussion with crayons, that we'll be ready to really engage with each other. Those two lessons I've learned are that to really have impact, it's got to be high touch and high tech, all at the same time. High touch, high tech. And it's been a humbling lesson, actually, to learn. I've been a part of some projects that were very high-tech, but they had no or little acknowledgement of the role human relationships play when it comes to behavior change, when it comes to local communities, when it comes to these types of things. I can remember one app we built for a client had... it was a pretty cool idea. You go and check in like through Foursquare to a local merchant, but in so doing, you bring your own reusable, whether that's a bottle or a bag or something, and then you get a 10% discount because that merchant would be enrolled in this same program. They get a loyal customer. You can imagine doing this at Whole Foods, for example. The universe would get one less plastic bag out there, and the consumer would get a reward. The tech was awesome. It's like you check in, you indicate what thing you got, and you got points, and it was great. But we launched the crickets because we hadn't really tested what that experience would be like for the consumer in an actual setting. It was just an idea that we just ran with, and turns out nobody actually did run with it. Maybe it's a timing thing. Still to this day, I don't know why it didn't take off. But some lessons like that and some other successes I'll share about, we always like the successes, really proved to me, really bring home the point, and it's now kind of it's a law of Cause Labs that we don't really engage in a project that doesn't really honor both of those truths. We have to think high touch, because that's how lives change, is through your mother, father, your family, the mentor you have, the teacher you have. That's how life change happens. But we also have to be smart. We have to be smarter than ever before to scale it, to sustain it. And that's where tech comes in. And if we're not thinking about technology, we're also doing our impact into service, right? Because we can say we help these 10 students, but what about the 1,000 other students, right, in the rural places and the other places? And how might technology be a pivot point, a catalyst? So it's really both, and both are very challenging questions, but we look at both now. A few examples really quick of how we've learned that lesson, and it's been heartening to see. MoneyThink is an organization out of Chicago. They were formed in 2008 by University of Chicago alum and his 4 kind of School of Business grads. They saw that there was no good financial literacy programming in public schools. It's always been a huge problem, but that students were going and then getting preyed upon by payday loans, getting preyed upon by the t-shirt vendors, aka credit card companies at college and things like that, or they're not going to college because they get in trouble or their family's in trouble in the first place, and that gap is just too wide to cross. They have a very high-touch program. They pair college students who are going through or have some financial major type chops with 5 to 6 students in a classroom. These mentors are with these students every week for a whole year. They form a really strong relationship, working through really great curriculum, like financial boot camp 101 stuff. And it's been pretty amazing. They're now in about 9 different cities and scaling rapidly. The CEO's been invited to be on the White House Council, youth relations, and all that good stuff. But they were confronting this challenge of scale and sustainability about 2 years ago. And at the same time, the mobile phone was just making its way into every part of our society. And they noticed even in the inner city schools where families are struggling to make ends meet, they're carrying around Android or iOS based devices. It's law. You gotta have one, right? At least in Chicago. They asked a simple question: how might we redeem or leverage the fact that they have this thing with which we can communicate with them to engage them throughout the week, not just at our weekly time that our mentors have with them, but throughout the week? How can we get them to take this financial knowledge and put it to financial action? So we cross the chasm between knowledge and action. Because that's right? Teachers, I'm a former teacher, that's a big deal, right? I can tell you all about the rules of grammar and comma usage, but until I see it in your writing, you haven't gotten it. It's the same thing with financial training. Fast forward, we built an app with them and a partnership with IDEO.org out of San Francisco called MoneyThink Mobile. And it's essentially kind of a cross between Instagram, you snap pics, and Mint, where you can track your finances. It's kind of an Insta-Mint or something like that. And basically, if I'm Lisa's mentor, I say, good session today, guys, but we learned about how banking works. So your challenge this week, I'm going to upload it now on my mentor's on his or her phone. I'm going to upload it now. Why don't you snap pics of 3 different banks you visit and see which one has the best rates on a checking account. Boom. And that knowledge that they just learned in the classroom now becomes a challenge they take out into the real world and actually get points for, rewards for. It's a really compelling game layer to the app, leveraging all of that smart technology we were just talking about, right? It's been really incredible. It's changed lives, and that's where it really makes me feel like I'm doing my job a little bit. My team's doing our job, fulfilling our purpose is, let's not just build apps that help us deliver pizza faster or, swipe left and right for people we might want to date. Let's change lives through technology. by applying it to programs that are already having impact. They just need that kick, that catalysis to help it spread. So that's one example. Really quickly, and you can read more stories on our website, causelabs.com, but CEO, career employment opportunities, they have a paper-based process to track their participants with their caseworker and recidivism programs to help formerly incarcerated get back into society in a very healthy, sustainable manner. Lo and behold, that paper-based process was not helping achieve the goals they want, but the vision was there, but we built a technology based on Android that helps digitize the process so that each day, the moment one of the participants checks in, the caseworker sees it. And the moment a flag is raised, like, oh, late for the second day in a row to the program's job placement, there's a flag, a notification is sent. So things aren't lost in paper land anymore. If anybody's ever been lost in paper land, raise your hand. It's okay. I know I have even. And these are, this is not rocket science. Some of it is, pretty sophisticated, but it's actually just choosing to apply technologies in these important problems. So CEOs are another example. There's a reading program in Chicago as well called Reading in Motion. 80% success rate in getting students K through first grade reading at grade level in time for third grade, that really important point when literacy just becomes absolutely critical. But they're only in a subset of Chicago schools because their cost structure and their program structure is hard to scale. And we built a platform that helps them become more scalable, and they're getting national funding attention now for the first time, partly because of this technology we built. So technology hasn't fundamentally changed the model, but it's fundamentally changed the way the model can scale and sustain. Super exciting. One last point, and I'll hand it over to Lisa. Amidst all of this, what I've discovered, not only what we have to build has to be high touch and high tech, but the way we build it has to fundamentally respect the process of innovation. I talk a lot, have a TED Talk that just came out actually about structures of innovation in the workplace. And what I believe and come to believe, and we try to live it out at Cause Labs and with our clients and our relationships, is a true partnership approach where we stand shoulder to shoulder. We ask questions based on how might we do something. And then we give that very important time for a bunch of different potential answers to come out before we then say X is what we're going to do. You need A, B, C, all the way. You need all sorts of ideas before you then determine which one has the most potential for scale. And so a couple of structures for innovation are really exciting as a hackathon. Instead of getting in a boardroom and making some decisions based on some inputs, you get everybody in a room, shoulder to shoulder, working on a bunch of different ideas over the span of one day, see which ideas come out that could then carry forward. You don't go into such days saying, we're going to come up with these 4 ideas, watch. You come into those days thinking, we got some stuff and some huge problems, we got some smart people and this cool process, let's see what happens. And lo and behold, it's not 4 ideas, it's 40, and it's humbling. It's humbling for leaders like me who are used to having the weight on their shoulders, hey, come up with the next big thing. In actuality, that's not the way the world works anymore. The next big thing comes from the people on the ground who experience the problems themselves. And our job is to create structures that allow those solutions to come up. For example, we're doing a hackathon in Denver with the Posner Center for International Development next week. Cool thing about it is that there's 3 different organizations. We've done a lot of planning, choosing some of their attendants in that center who have really important problems they need to solve. And we're going through a 2-day process of getting teams around them, try to come up with solutions. They're going to pitch them on Friday, and the winner actually gets funding through a partnership to implement the solution. So it's full circle. It's not a hackathon, hey, let's get some geeks in the room and build some stuff and then pat ourselves on the back. It's just a kickstart to what can be very important for that organization, those organizations. And secondly, I don't know if you're familiar with X Prize, Peter Diamandis and those guys, exponential organizations, and those types, but these grant challenges, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have started working with grant challenges as well, but imagine a hackathon but at a scale where there's $10 million on the line or $100 million on the line, and you say, we want to solve, for example, we want a toilet that is totally self-contained, doesn't need plumbing, Hey, everybody, the world, could you solve that challenge? One of the most interesting ones I've come across recently is the Global Learning Challenge. How might we create a technology-based solution that can give the core reading and math skills that every youth in the world needs to know through a mobile device that could be implemented in any area of the world, even hard-to-reach areas without internet connection. Huge problem, right? My answer is, oh, you probably can't do it. But these great challenges culminate the best minds in the world. There's $10 million on the line for this one. There's a rigorous process, and it's like a hackathon, but really supercharged. And so these structures of innovation, where you're not saying, here's the solution I want, but here's the problem we want to solve. I get really excited thinking about all the work CosLabs has done and trying to really apply that to New Mexico. How might we take advantage of some of these structures and some of our experiences and put something together that galvanizes us around some of the ingrained problems we know we have. And I'm curious to find out what you all are doing that's taking advantage of some of these models too. So that's it. High touch, high tech, and structures for innovation are just super important. Hand it over to Lisa.
When I grow up, can you guys hear me? No. You see it? It's way down here. How about now? Yes? Okay. When I grow up, I want to be TJ. He's inspiring. And I have to say, every time we meet for coffee, every time we talk, he tells me something else that I had no idea he was doing. And I think that's the thing about working in social impact, is that the problems are so big and so many that after a while, it becomes a little bit of a blur of how many things you've actually participated in that help make some impact. And every time I come back from a summit or a conference, I come away with the feeling I love working in this industry because I work with people that are incredible. They're outward facing. They're not narcissists. They're not people who are looking to glorify their own skills and talents. They're looking to solve serious problems, and they're humble. They understand that they can't do it without help, and so there's this willingness to collaborate. And I think it's the thing I really have become so impressed with working in social impact, is that the people within that industry really do want to solve big problems. And about 3 years ago, I was sitting on a panel, and one of the questions from the audience was, what's your long-term goal? And I said, I want to change the economy in New Mexico. And there was this dead silence, and then the entire group started laughing. There was just this disbelief that, one, it could happen, and two, that someone would have that as a goal for a company. But it's true. I live here. I was born here. I love our state. We have so much going for us. If we don't have the goal of building global corporations that do good for not only our own community but the world, we'll never have the kind of income coming into our state that we can then take that money and do even better things with it. And so that really is the goal of what I'm trying to do. And it's driven me through a lot of extremely difficult experiences, but they're worth it. And so, along with what TJ's already talked about, one of the things I'd like to talk about is really the fact that we have opportunities available to us today that were not even a possibility 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, because of the innovations in digitization. The smartphone really, for the first time, changed who had access to all of the knowledge ever available. I mean, think about that. Someone living in Ghana has access to information through a website that they can't get through school. That's never happened before. And so then all of a sudden people